There's a certain sound I still hear sometimes. Even now, it's the hollow metallic slam of a screen door on a humid July afternoon. The kind of afternoon where the air barely moved, cicadas buzzed in the trees, and your sneakers were already dusty before noon. And somehow, everyone was there. Have you ever stopped and wondered how those years, the scraped knees, the vinyl records, the waiting, the freedom, quietly shaped the people we became? Because they did, in ways we didn't even realize at the time. In the 70s, childhood happened outdoors, not in scheduled play dates, not under constant supervision, just outside. You'd grab your bike, maybe with a banana seat and those tall handlebars, and you were gone. No helmet, no tracking app, just a loose understanding that when the streetlights came on, you'd better be headed home. We climbed trees that were probably too high, jumped ramps that were definitely too steep, built forts out of scrap wood and old blankets. And when you fell, and you did fall, you didn't rush inside for a lawsuit. You dusted yourself off, maybe spat on a scraped knee, kept going. That did something to us. It made us less afraid of the world. It made us problem solvers. It taught us that discomfort wasn't the end of the story. We didn't grow up cushioned. We grew up capable. Saturday mornings were sacred. You'd wake up before your parents, tiptoe into the living room, and turn the knob on that heavy television set. It hummed before the picture showed up. You had to wait. That word, wait, was built into the 70s. Cartoons came on once a week. Miss it, too bad. You'd wait until next Saturday. You'd sit cross-legged on the carpet, bowl of cereal in your lap, absolutely locked in. The commercials weren't annoying. They were part of the ritual. And here's the thing, waiting made it sweeter. We learned delayed gratification without knowing that's what it was called. We didn't have everything instantly. So when we got something, even a simple cartoon, it mattered. Today, everything streams on demand. Back then, anticipation was half the joy, and that patience, it followed us into adulthood. I still remember the first time I dropped a needle onto a vinyl record by myself. That soft crackle before the music started felt important, like something sacred was about to happen. In the 70s, music wasn't just playing in the background while you scrolled your phone, because there were no phones to scroll. You listened. You read the album covers. You memorized lyrics. You argued about which band was better. You'd lie on your bed staring at the ceiling while the song filled the room. And somehow, it felt like it understood you. Those songs became timestamps. First crush, first heartbreak, first slow dance in a dim gymnasium with crepe paper hanging from the ceiling. Music gave us emotion without filters. It let us feel big feelings without apology. And I think that's why so many of us still turn the volume up when an old 70s song comes on the radio. Because for 3 minutes, we're 16 again. Most nights you sat at the dinner table, not with a tablet, not with headphones, just there. You passed the salt. You listened to your parents talk about work. You told a story about something that happened at school. Sometimes it was boring. Sometimes you wanted to be anywhere else, but you were present. And presence builds something you can't manufacture later. We learned how to look people in the eye, how to wait our turn to speak, how to sit with silence. Those dinners shaped our communication skills long before anyone used that phrase. We didn't know it then, but those small nightly rituals were wiring us for connection. Here's something younger generations might never fully understand. In the 70s, you could be awkward in peace. You didn't have a camera pointed at you 24/7. You weren't curating your life. If you had a bad haircut, and let's be honest, we all did, it lived in a photo album on a shelf, not on the internet forever. We made mistakes privately. We grew up without the pressure of constant comparison. You weren't measuring your life against thousands of filtered snapshots. Your world was your street, your school, your town. And that smaller world gave us something rare today, room to figure out who we were without an audience. And somewhere between the screen doors, the record players and the scraped knees, we were becoming ourselves. Summer in the 70s didn't feel scheduled, it felt wide. You woke, looked outside, and the day just opened. No hourly itinerary, no structured camp every week. Sometimes you were bored, and boredom was powerful. It forced you to invent things. You turned empty fields into baseball diamonds, cardboard boxes into spaceships, turned sidewalks into racetracks with chalk lines. We learned creativity not from apps, but from absence. When nothing entertained you automatically, you entertained yourself. That skill to create something out of nothing is still inside us. The 70s weren't just carefree bike rides. There was tension in the air sometimes. Gas lines, big conversations happening on the evening news, adults talking in serious tones after dinner. We sat on shag carpet and watched the world unfold on television. Even if we didn't fully understand it, we felt it. Growing up during uncertainty makes you observant. It makes you listen. It makes you aware that the world isn't simple, but it keeps moving forward anyway. That balance shaped us. We learned optimism, but not blindness. If you wanted to see your friend, you walked to their house. If their bike wasn't in the yard, you checked the next house. Friendships weren't maintained with likes, they were maintained with time. You sat on curbs and talked about nothing. You shared secrets in tree houses. You got into arguments and worked them out face to face, and because of that, we learned body language, tone, empathy. We learned how to read a room. Those weren't skills. They were survival tools for childhood. And today, when we value deep friendships over digital ones, that's not an accident. We were raised that way. The phone hung on the wall, and it had a cord. If you called someone, you hoped they were home. If they weren't, you waited. Letters took days. Film had to be developed. TV shows aired once. Everything had friction. But that friction gave moments weight. When something finally arrived, it felt earned. We didn't expect immediacy. We expected process. And that slower pace shaped our nervous systems. Even today, many of us still prefer face-to-face meetings, handwritten notes, real conversations. Because we remember what life felt like before speed became the default. Here's the thing about growing up in the 70s. We remember life before the digital age, but we also adapted to it. We saw rotary phones turn into cordless ones, saw black and white turn into color, saw the first home computers appear. We know what unplugged feels like, and that gives us perspective. We appreciate technology, but we don't worship it. We value connection, but we remember independence. We know how to sit in silence without reaching for a screen. In that balance, that's a quiet strength. Growing up in the 70s didn't just give us memories, it gave us wiring. It taught us patience in a world that now moves too fast. It taught us resilience in a culture that often avoids discomfort. It taught us connection without constant noise. When we look back, it's not just nostalgia, it's recognition. Recognition of a childhood that shaped our character, quietly, steadily, without hashtags or headlines. So let me ask you, when you think about growing up in the 70s, what do you miss the most? The freedom, the music, the slow summers? Tell me in the comments. And if you'd like to take another trip back to when life felt unplugged and wide open, subscribe for more journeys down memory lane. This is American Rewind, and we're just getting started.